Hey man, it's your boy Redd from RapComeUp, and we back with episode 2 of Real Talk. And today we got real legends in the building. But before I even say anything about them, I'm gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Rico.
I'm Rico Love. I'm a songwriter, producer, artist. You know?
So all of that.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
I'm CleanFace, management, do consulting, do some of everything. Wear many hats in this game. Been a part of history, man.
For sure. And we got my boy Rene over there.
Yeah, I'm Rene. I'm co-hosting today. I happen to be friends with these two gentlemen here.
Yeah, better put it up. I was actually when I did my research on you, I was checking. You said you grew up from New Orleans, or?
Oh yeah, I was born in Louisiana. Born in Louisiana. So I grew up as a kid, I lived in New Orleans. My mother's originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My dad's from New York. And they met in the military, so I kind of rotated around those places growing up.
So you didn't really get to experience New Orleans, or was it?
Yeah, I experienced New Orleans very much so. Like my family is the Landrys, so grew up in the 9th Ward in Gretna. You know, my dad lived in Carrollton, so we moved around a little bit in my young years. So I have very fond experiences in New Orleans. Even when I go to this day, I get so much love. It's like going home.
For sure. What about as far as like when you started noticing your love for the music?
I think, you know, to be totally honest, I had a cousin named Clarence Landry who got murdered when I was a kid, and he was rapping. When I was a young kid, he would always rap, and he would wear ballies, and he was always fly. He had he was just the good-looking fly guy, and we always looked up to him. He's my big cousin. So I think that was my initial introduction to the idea of being an artist or performing or writing or rapping was Clarence Landry. So New Orleans, I think, was a major part of my identity of discovering myself. And of course, New York being like the mecca of hip hop. And when I was growing up, that was like, only way you can get a record deal was go to New York. So having that lineage and background and history behind me. And then also the Midwest, the Midwest was just so much slick talk and game and hustle, you know, so it was like a melting pot creatively that I was able to kind of like grow up in those three spaces in major parts, pivotal parts of my life to kind of help identify who I would become and who I'm still becoming. I kind of borrow from all of those places still.
I feel you. And what about when you was doing, because I know you went to FAMU, but you was driving all the way to Atlanta and stuff. Like, how was that? I know you get tired on that road.
Nah, man, you just was trying, like, you know, I would take that ride. I would take the bus. Certain times I was taking the bus, and I would get on the bus at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. So it'd be like a Friday night, but going into the Saturday morning, I would stay at the bus station, at the Greyhound station, and it's a 4-hour drive, but on the bus it's 7 hours because you got to stop in every city. Right. So, you know, Valdosta, and we knew when I heard them say Macon, we knew we were close, you know what I mean? Hapesville and all that stuff. So that experience, I ain't gonna lie, I was so hungry. I was young and I was hungry and I was anxious. And I really was, I loved every minute of it. I really kind of appreciated that experience. I literally got not much sleep, but it was like those weekends in Atlanta, discovering myself, making music, meeting people. I only had 2 days out of every week, really a day and a half. It was Saturday and Sunday, because I would leave Sunday night and go back to school. So it was like a day and a half of the most incredible experiences that I could kind of compile into like learning the business.
Yeah. So what about as far as like the battle rapping? When you was doing that? Or you
I was doing battle rapping at FAMU a lot. When I went to FAM, it was like this guy named Lil Steve. He had this thing called the Snake Pit.
Yeah.
The Rattlers then, you know, the Rattlers, the FAMU Rattlers. But it was the Rattlers then, and it was the Snake Pit. And they would have battles. And I would battle every Wednesday, and I would win the battle every Wednesday. I've never lost a battle. I never lost a battle, and they retired me. I was winning so much they had to retire me, and I think that was kind of my introduction in like the understanding of competition and challenging. So even in songwriting, you understand it's only 14, 13 slots on the album. So you kind of are always competitive in making sure that your song is the best song to not only make the album but become singles. And I've had I've had over 70, 80 singles released. Maybe more than 100 singles released. So not every single was a hit, but I've had
A lot of release.
maybe a couple of hundred singles released. Not just albums and songs. I'm just talking about singles. So the idea of competing for a spot was always natural for me because I came from the battling background. So I think they kind of helped shape me as an artist.
Give you that competitive edge to come in there, so I got to beat everybody else in the room.
Exactly.
Every time.
And understanding that you might not win. So that I think that's the part you got to embrace more. Knowing that you have to win is the idea and the energy. I have to win. But I understand that this is a fight. So if I were not to win, then I know how to adjust and pivot, and I have to figure out how to win. But the idea of losing is always that thing that kind of keeps the fire lit up under you. So I think that part of it is the anxiety that it comes from, I got to win. That part of it is, I think, makes for better care. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I have to win. I got to figure this out. And that's how it is with records. And then I got to a point where I started really willing things to happen. I would say, I know I'm going to be on this album. I know I'm going to have this single. I know this is going to happen. And it just started becoming so natural for me. And I think I'm in that space again now creatively where I'm just kind of like, things are starting to happen again in that space. I've always been able to exist musically in some form or fashion. But I think back in the creative writing and placing songs and being on albums, I think that's starting to kind of like become more natural to me again.
Did you use that same process when you started working with Usher and Beyonce, or was it?
Yeah, well, Usher was just like, Usher was my birth into the actual business as a creative. Yeah. I started with Jagged Edge, sleeping on their couch and trying to make it. So I learned the business, beginning parts of the business with those guys. And then Red Zone Studios with Tricky Stewart. But with Usher was when I really learned how the music business functions and how it works. And I learned how to pivot. But in Red Zone Studio days, I was sitting up under Brian Michael Cox, Jazzy Faye, Tricky, Shakir Stewart, God rest his dead, Vincent Cersei. Those guys were kind of teaching us the business. JQ, like we were learning the business. We would overhear them talking about their deals and how many points they got and royalties, and they got to turn in this many songs. If I don't have this many songs come out this quarter, then I'm going to be, my deal's going to be behind. Certain things I learned about the business just watching those guys. But then when I got with Usher, it was like, all right, now you're in the game. Now you're in the big leagues. So now you understand the position, the game from a position of being ahead. Before you was coming from behind, pause. But with Usher, he was like, I'm in the business from the standpoint of being in the lead. So how do you function being in the lead? That was the most incredible and most valuable situation I could have been in, because when I started becoming successful on my own, I understood what that felt like from being with him.
When you got that card working with Beyonce, how that made you feel?
Oh man, it's good. But like I said, I was with Usher in the beginning. In the beginning of my career, I was with Usher when he was doing the Confessions album. We did the Confessions album. Yeah. So it was amazing working with Beyonce, but I was groomed. I was prepared for that. Like Beyonce is a mega star, but being with Usher during Confessions times, it was nothing. I still don't think I've experienced being around an artist besides Beyonce that was that big. So I was kind of prepared to work and deal with superstars. I was groomed by a superstar, by a megastar.
I think y'all won Album of the Year, the Grammys? No,
we were nominated for Album of the Year on Confessions, and we lost that year to Ray Charles. Ray Charles had died that year, so it was like
it was like a respected type.
Yeah. He put out a greatest hits album, a duet album, or something like that, and we lost that year to Ray Charles, which was crazy.
I feel like you work with like 3 different generations. What, is you working with any artists in this generation?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the difference between working, like, I know you work with Nelly, Beyonce and Usher, then you work with Wiz Khalifa, A$AP Rocky. So what's the difference between all 3 generations now?
Now I think that most of these artists that I work with now, they didn't want to be artists when they were kids, when they were born. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm popular, so I'm gonna put out a record. No. It's seriously. So it's like a different level of consideration to the business. It's a different level of respect.
Is it
Like-
less respect or more respect? Sorry to interrupt.
Way less respect. Like, I'll give you an example. I worked with an artist who's pretty big recently, and he walked in the room. I was sitting in the session. He did like this to me, sat down, started rolling his weed.
That's it.
And then it was like, y'all got some beats or something? That's how he was talking to me. And I could tell that one, he wasn't a student, and two, this is not something he wanted to do since birth. Like, this wasn't his dream, his passion. It was something that he just fucking around in the hood doing. He got very popular, became very successful at a quick time, so he didn't have the respect for the game. As well, when I walked in the studio, the first session that I ever did as an artist signed was with Cool and Dre. And I asked Mark Pitts, could he get me in the studio with Cool and Dre? And we were in New York at Battery Studios, and they booked it, and I had a session with Cool and Dre, and I walked in, and I just couldn't believe I was working with these guys, and they was on fire at the moment, and I was just like, so it was a different level for me. I was like, yo, it's good to meet y'all. We did like 5 songs in one day, and I was just excited. I just couldn't believe I was there. And I think that the difference between, if you ask me what's the difference between these generations, this generation does not understand how difficult it is, even in their, it's like people say it's so easy. No, it's not easy now. It's just as easy to, when you actually work, it's easy, it feels easy to the person who just put their song on the internet and it went viral. But it's still so many, there are 600,000 songs released every day on just Spotify. 600,000 songs every day. So I'm telling you, it's not easy. If there's 3 or 4 artists that break every year, cross genre. I'm talking about 3 or 4 artists that break every year, cross genre. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 rappers. I'm talking about pop, country, rap, EDM. There are only 3 to 4 that break every year. Think about it. There's not a brand new rapper every single year that breaks. There are artists that was already bubbling and moving, but I'm talking about a brand new
Crossover.
not crossover. I'm talking about breaks, hit record, viral, whatever it is not a consistent occurrence. But there are 600,000 songs released every single day. So it seems easier, and then for some artists, when it happens for them, the process seems a lot easier. So when they approach the business, they don't have much respect for it because it's easy. But what if, when I was a kid, I didn't understand fraternities. I did not understand a fraternity. I said, that's fucking crazy. Why y'all letting these people beat y'all up, pour milk on your head, make you put your hand in the toilet, you running miles, you pissing on yourself, you did all this stuff to be in this fraternity, until one night I experienced people crossing the line, right? That's what they call it when they make it. They cross. No, I didn't pledge, I watched it. And I saw the same people that was torturing them cried and hugged them when they crossed. And what they showed me and what they told me was that we have to make sure that this person wants to be here. So we put them through the most difficult situations. And when they get through those situations, it hurt my heart to have to make my brother run 50 miles and do 100 push-ups every night and put his hand in the toilet and put his face in, like all this craziness. It hurt me to watch him have to go through that, but I had to, so that he could prove to me that when we in the trenches, he gonna go so hard just like that for me. Exactly. That's what the music business used to be. Now it's so easy to get in. So a person, they're not grateful. I'm grateful every time I'm working with anybody. And I'm talking about people that I'm more successful than or whatever. I'm grateful that I still, after almost 20 years in the music business, I'm grateful that I can say, I'm doing this for a living. I never had to go get a 9 to 5. No disrespect to anybody who has. I'm just blessed to say I never had to stop what I'm doing for a few months and go do. Since I started being in the music business, I have been in the music business. Through the highs, through the lows, through the peaks, and through the valleys. I've been able to maintain and keep a job in the music business. So if I'm in the studio with you, a brand new artist who nobody's ever heard of, I'm grateful. When I'm in the studio with the biggest artists in the world, I'm grateful. I think that a person who never had to experience peaks and valleys and highs and lows, who never had to really chase a dream with a certain vigor, with a certain hunger, they don't have the same reverence that I have for the business. So when they walk in the room, they like, what up? Who got beats? They'll never be able to understand it that way.
Working with people like Michael B. Cox, like he's like considered like a legend in R&B.
Brian Michael Cox.
Right, Brian Michael Cox.
Yeah.
And apologies about that. Him being considered a legend in R&B just because of him
And
as a
music,
producer, what he creates. Like you used to see him on Making the Band back in the day and be like, this dude creates hits in his sleep. And then you work with someone like Tricky Stewart, who birthed, like I wouldn't say birthed, but just said like he definitely helped push someone like The Dream to the next level. And then you go into somebody like Shakir Stewart and knowing that like how he was loved in the industry. Like, did you know those guys were as big as they were back then, or did you catch them also on the grind with
Absolutely.
you?
No, they were bigger. They were big when I was coming up. They had already been, honestly, people had thought, and that's why I always tell people, you never know, there is no expiration date on greatness. People thought that Tricky had reached his prime and he had already seen the mountaintop and he wasn't gonna get any bigger. That was the feeling around Tricky, because he had the JT Money stuff, he had the Soleil stuff, he had the Maya stuff. He had all that success and built Red Zone and did well. People thought, okay, he just out here working, figuring it out. And he proved later with, Single Ladies, and then now with the Beyonce current album, all the stuff he's doing, he's proved like when you're greatness always rises. Like it's always going to do well. You always have a home when you understand greatness. But those guys were mega. Jazzy, Brian Michael Cox, Tricky. I was in the room with those guys. Shakir was walking around. It was legendary, right up under L.A. Reid. That was legendary opportunities that I knew, but I understood the game. Like I had met a kid today. A friend of mine invited me to his studio, and this 19-year-old kid, he introduced me. He said, "Hey man, I want you to introduce you to Rico Love." And he said, "Oh, what's up, man? What do you do?" And I didn't take it personal. He's a kid, but when I was a kid, I knew. And I even had to learn. I was obsessed with the business. I knew what I wanted to be. And it's no way, if you told me you wanted to play basketball and I told you about Ja Morant, you would know. If I told you about LeBron James, told you about Dwayne Wade, if I told you about, if a real basketball head, if I told you about Eldon Campbell, Nick Van Exel, and Eddie Jones, and you would know, because that's what you want to do. So that proves my point. These guys don't really want to do music. They want to get out the hood and they want to be famous. They want to get some money. I would be doing this right now today if it didn't pay.
That's love.
I would be doing it because that's my heart and soul. That's what I love to do. And to be totally honest with you, publishing from streams don't pay the same that they used to do it, as they used to pay. So I'm essentially still in the business doing something for the love of it.
That's what I was going to ask. 20 years or 20 plus years, like how do you...
Almost 20 years. Not quite 20 yet, but almost 20 years in the game.
So how you stay level-headed throughout all of that?
You are who you are. When Jay-Z said that was just the top layer, man, you was who you was for you got here. That's who you are. And somebody asked me this is the only way I know how to be. How I'm talking to you right now is how I talk to my friends. Every bit of who I am is who I've always been. People who knew me when I was 17 years old will say, the way he's speaking right now, the way he believes, and the way he is the same exact way, the mannerisms and everything. Now, I was a little more emotional about things. I would get a little more angry and about certain things as a young, but as far as vision, as far as understanding and having a reverence for the business, that's just who you are. Life can also humble you in ways, but I went through things, but I don't feel like those things humbled me in that sense. I feel like who you are is who you are. And I always believed in being nice and being good to people and being kind and being polite and being on time and respecting people's time. Things like that, that's just who I am. So being in the game, you get more seasoned, you get more conditioned to figure out and learn and adjust and adapt. But who you are is who you are. When you're a nice person, you're a good person, you're God-fearing, that's just who you are. That's a part of your character.
Everybody shoots. I know you've been managing, old talent and new talent. You've been around Ross, Plies, you got Glock, Mooski, a lot of people. Like, how do you feel about the what's your perspective on the new generation and the old generation?
Well, one of the greatest things about the old generation that the new generation still get a chance to experience their legacy. You know, I believe there's some young kids out there that know there's a such thing as an Erykah Badu. And like, where did she come from? She's been here for years before they were actually born. To be able to experience classics, it's a great thing. It's like I lived through the classic, and I think about my son, and I go share. I say, you know, this person been around before Dad, and I'm still bumping them, you know. And what I would say to young kids, it's funny how their parents don't get a chance to play their music. I'm talking about the young vibe. Play their music while they're cleaning up, or play their music while they're in the house. That's something that they won't get a chance to experience. And that kind of puts the seed of music in you if you're a music head. Yeah. You know, and I wish that I could see a young artist today and know that their music is going to play 20 years from now. I just wish that the younger audience would take a little more pride in their music so that it would last. Because the longer that it lasts, the longer that their kids can eat off of it. I watched these stats, and me and Renee sat and we looked at stats, and I was like, it's funny, like when the stats stop, it just stopped. Ain't no more money. It's just that. That's it. You know, it's very few kids that's gonna get sampled from this era 20 years from now. You know, it's so much money they're missing out that would help their legacy. Because it's 1,000 of them doing the same thing. Yeah. And the classic era was a whole bunch of people doing their thing. It was 1,000 lanes. The young era don't have 1,000 lanes. They got about 3. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna take care of my homie, or I'm gonna slut a girl out, or I'm gonna wear some nice clothes. You know, about 4 lanes.
But you know what though? There are timeless bodies of work that still exist. You know, in fairness. I think that Future's last album is an incredible body of work, right? I think that Kendrick's last album is an incredible body of work, right? I look at Jay Electronica, I look at a lot of acts. I look at Drake and 21. I think that Kodak's last project was incredible. I think about artists. They are artists who are telling a story and who are doing a great job in telling that story. But what I have to keep reminding you, because I don't ever want the youth to listen to me and think that I'm shunning the entire generation. And I know that's not what you're doing either, B, because B is an advocate for the youth. What I will say, though, is I'm reminding you there are 600,000 songs released every day on Spotify. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the fact that, by the way, there are a tremendous amount of incredible talent that's coming up. JID, Baby Tate. We think about a lot of tons of talented acts that are coming up that are making quality music that I believe have potential to be great. Alex Vaughn, Summer Walker's, you know, her. You know, there are tons of acts that are doing well. What I'm talking about is the masses who are seeing a tremendous amount of artists release music that lack any thought. You know what I mean? And so when I listen to acts, when I listen to Kodak say, he can act like he is taking time to make those records.
He mastered, like, to me, he mastered the art of raw emotion. And when you master emotion in music, I think that people feel you no matter what.
All he's doing is being himself on the record. But I'm not talking about that. I'm listening to the song. He's putting a song together. He can act like you just doing it. You can act like it's, but I'm telling you, I know hit records. I know songs. He's making records and he's intentional about it. When I listen to Neff and Few, God Rest His Dead, to Take Off, but when I listen to that project, incredible project. They picking beats that's incredible. I said the other day, whoever picked Migo beats, just get in the studio with me and just run them down and let's just go through them. Think about it. Migos pick some amazing production. Amazing production. So I think about that and I say there are tons of acts that are taking time to make sure the music is quality and substantive, right? But I'm talking about the fact that they are far more putting up shots and getting a decent amount of attention and aren't putting the same amount of effort to make sure that there's a quality or level of quality there.
And to piggyback off what Rico Rico is saying. So now my sons have artists, right? And I was sitting with the artist and I said, okay, you just killed somebody on the record, right? A million people just did that too. But won't you tell me about, won't you ask the generation, are you gonna take care of your homie's kid?
Yeah.
2 months after he in the ground?
Mm.
Are you gonna give mama a napkin at the funeral?
Are you even gonna pay for the funeral?
Right. You know,
Can't pay
That's
for
too
it.
much.
right. So my thinking is, from an OG to the young brothers, it is all the same words, just from a different person. I'm asking you just to dig a little deeper because that's what makes classics. Classics are just people that just dug a little deeper. I'm cool with everything that they're doing, but they got to go through their process. And this is one of a prayer that I prayed for many, many years. I was like, God, let some of these young artists that the world look down on live to get 25, because they're growing a lot faster. And if he lived to be 25, the story that he was telling at 16 is not going to be the same story.
Definitely.
So I believe that God answered my prayer when I saw NBA.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, when Young Boy decided to cry out and say, I can't believe when I listen to my music and look at my interviews that I caused a whole lot of riding, a whole lot of, you know, that, and it caused a lot of demise. And I said, well, God, that's all I ever wanted to see from the youth. Just live through it, because so many of them was dying and they never got a chance to live through and say what they learned from that. I'm like, let them do it all. Let them be on demon time. Let them have ops. Let them have choppers. Give them all of that time, because I was once that kid. But also give them a chance to live. Pray that they live, because them same ones gonna reach back. And it's not the same. Now that I grew up a little bit, G Herbo was another one that said, man, let us all just take our L's. Your side got somebody's, our side got somebody's. Let's just take the L's and let's move on and learn to love one another. But that comes from experiencing. You know what I'm saying? So that's been my prayer.
Also, experiencing a certain level of success and having the right. Because what happens is, if I'm successful and I got 50 guys with me and I'm staying with the same 50 guys, always know this. If my guys have no purpose around me, and Byron told me this, if your guys got no purpose around you except beef and protecting you, then they are going to create situations where they can be useful.
Because it makes them valuable.
Hear what I'm saying? If my only use to you is beef, I'm going to create situations that make me useful. So if I'm surrounded by people who serve no purpose except for when it's drama, I know they're going to shoot. Then guess what? They're going to create some drama to make sure I got to be around. I got to be around. Because if there ain't no beef, sooner or later he going to look up and realize, I don't need all these people. So what happens is, when you start surrounding yourself with other people, when you start eating good and living good, and then you get locked up and you're like, bro, I'm in jail. I got $16 million in the bank. I'm in jail? This is crazy. Then you start saying, you know what, bro? I don't want to fight no more. I don't want to shoot no more. I want to come home and stay home. It don't make sense. So you got to figure out who around you. And a lot of these guys are starting to realize, I'm enjoying this. I like the way I eat. I like these clothes. I like this house. Why am I fighting with everybody? Why am I shooting? And those guys are going to be the ones that wake up and be able to tell the story. And some ain't going to make it. There's a lot of guys that ain't going to make it out.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, young. Because, you know, what I do, I meet, you know, these artists in the streets. Yeah, they got what they got going on, but it's like, when I meet them, it's a whole different perspective. You feel me? It's not like, we don't talk about them being in the streets or how many bodies they got or stuff like that. It's just like, yo, I really love this music stuff. I want to win platinum, I want to win Grammys. You know what I'm saying? Then for them to like not be able to make it that far, because, you know, they get lost, their lives get lost in the street, it just be looking crazy to them. It's like, dang, you didn't even get to live your whole life and achieve your dream. and everything like that. You feel me? So they just be looking crazy. Bro.
Isn't the game a lot different though, Clean? Like, think about this, bro. Think about this. When we were coming up, the killer wasn't the rapper, his homeboy was. So the guy on the side of his homeboy was the one who told his homeboy's story and told the story from the street's perspective. So then when he became famous, people thought, oh, this guy's a gangster, he's a tough guy. Now he's from the streets, he's from the community, but his homeboy couldn't get on the record and say that. Because by the way, you see all these kids catching Ricos. See, the street guys when I was growing up knew that would happen. So they didn't rap. You know what I mean? They did not rap because they felt like, I'm going to jail. I don't need no attention on me like that, right? Now, in order for you to work, like, you create, in drill, New York drill is the craziest I've ever seen. It's like, all right, I don't like this guy. We shot at him last week. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and I'm gonna say, we shot y'all last week. And then it's gonna get 50 million views. And then they're gonna make a video and say, well, we shot y'all back. And they're gonna get 50 million views. And the record company's gonna say, I'm gonna sign this one, and you sign that one. And we're gonna say, we're gonna make a fortune off them. And then when they die, we'll probably make more money. But it's like the actual gangsters, the actual killers, the actual guys who pull the trigger is the rappers now. And that wasn't like that before. It just wasn't. It was like the kids in the guy in the street was like, well, I'm not getting on the record. I'm going to jail if I get on the record.
You feel like the fans play a part of that?
Absolutely. Some kid in the suburbs is telling them, yo, you ain't right on your op. Read the comments. There's some kid from the comfort of his grandmother's house saying, you ain't slide? You ain't slide? You tripping. Your op saying, you got guys literally sitting on Twitch playing video games and just talking and telling real gangsters what they should do. And the gangsters is listening. The craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, the fans play a role. It don't mean nothing to them. And then when you catch a charge and when you kill somebody, you know what the fans say? He's stupid. Why you do all that? He got all that money, why you do that? Because you told him to.
Rico, you don't think if you build a mass following from that, it's kind of hard to switch your product up? Like, if you come in and I'm killing, then you all of a sudden now, peace, I want it.
It's very difficult.
And that fan base is like, we don't come to you for peace.
It's very difficult. It's just like if you the plug. Somebody would say, all right, if you Big Meechie, you making $2.5 million a day. If you making all this money, why don't you just stop? How? I can't stop. I'm the plug. Like, that's how music is. Like, so, why you making all, I can't stop, bro. My last album is still streaming like crazy. Every time I put somebody, it goes crazy. I can't stop. Now the record company's invested. Now the touring agencies are invested. Now I'm getting calls every day saying, I got 250,000. I got 500,000 for you. I got $1 million to do this. Can you do a walkthrough for 250? Can you do this? I can't. It don't stop. It's the most, when they say the love of money is the root of, when people say money is the root of all evil, that's not true. The love of money is the root of all evil. When you put something, and when they say the root, think about what it's saying. The love of money is the root. It begins with the love of money. It does not say the love of art. It does not say the love of your brother. It does not say the love of your family. It says the love of money is the root, meaning that is where evil starts. All evil starts and is rooted in the love of money. It means greed and a sensationalization of material and physical and currency and wealth. The beginning of that. So what you have to understand, and this is what I mean by the root, I'm going to get to the point. All right, now the record company is invested. Now the touring guy is invested. Now the road manager is invested. Now the baby mama is invested. Now the homeboy is invested. The love of this particular coin, this green piece of paper, all of these people have to function now based on your killing and murdering and womanizing and whatever. whatever that is. So that root that was started because you had to get this money is going to manifest itself in ways that are detrimental to not only the health of you, but the health of everyone that's coming up behind you, because you're teaching them how to behave. You're associating your success with the ignorance that they are seeing. So it used to be the art imitated the life. Now it don't even matter, because if life imitate the art, it's still imitating the same thing.
I've sat in meetings with A&Rs before, like flown out, been sitting in artist rooms, they're playing music on their speakers, and the biggest thing that I see when the A&Rs come in the room is like, we'll play conscious records. The artist will have conscious records, but it won't be that won't be the record that gets them to jump. It's always the spin the block, you know, like You My Op records, and you'll see them get excited for that. They're like, this is what we want. And we're like, we just showed you some real stuff, like heartfelt stuff, emotional pain.
but the A&R doesn't know how to think. What does he know how to think?
He just knows money.
No. He knows what the audience is telling him. Right? He knows what the audience is telling him. All right, it used to be what was the best song, and it went from what was the best song to what works. There's a story about an executive. This executive sat in their office, and the artist came to them and said, I want to play you my new album. And they came and they played the album, and everybody was like, wow, this is incredible. And he said, I want to play you 2 more songs. And he played this song, and they said, wow, this is it. This is, oh my God, we got to go. This is it. He said, I'm going to play you this other song. He said, that's got to be the single. This is an artist signed to this label for many years. They said, this got to be the single. And they said, it can't be. I said, why not? This is the record. And she said, because it was my last single on the last album. You didn't even listen to the fucking album that you released.
They don't even be paying.
They don't give a fuck. They only care about what works. They don't care about how you are artistically. That's why artists like Kendrick don't play their album for the label. They turn it in and say, this is it. This is what I want to do. That's why Cole doesn't have meetings and talk through things like that. That's why Drake doesn't say, let me play y'all my record. He says, it's coming out Tuesday. Master it and go. Clear all the samples and get it out by Tuesday. You know why? Because I know that you guys aren't invested in how good or this music is or not. You're only invested in whether or not it'll work. So the business has nothing to do with these guys respecting your conscious song. Yeah. They know the kids want to hear this. I'm on TikTok every day. I'm on Instagram every day. That's how the kids talking. That's what they want to hear. That's what the last record over here did. That's what this record did. They don't know shit.
They on TikTok, yeah.
Come on, bro.
But do you feel like, how should I say, like, do you feel like you have to reach a certain level to be calling these shots, or can you come in?
Any level of success is suck your dick energy. If I get any level of success, if I can get out here and do anything that I'm doing with them on my own, then I can tell them this is what I'm going to do and they're going to accept it. But the day it don't work, the day it stops working, you won't even be allowed invited to the party. Some of the biggest artists I grew up with are independent artists right now, and the record companies wouldn't give them the time of day. The record companies that they help build. I don't care who you are. You get enough, you build yourself up enough, you make them enough money, and you can tell them whatever you want to tell them and they will accept it. Because you're making them money. But the second it stops working.
Yeah, they don't want to hear none of that. It's their way or the highway.
It's no their way, it's the highway.
She says the highway.
It's no option. It's no their way. You think they want to regroup now?
Nah, they ain't trying.
Nah, we on to the next. What they feel like is, you run your course. We appreciate you for, no, not even we appreciate you what you're not. It was good to know you.
You did what you had to do.
Such a cold ending.
That's the game. That's the game. As long as you don't have this, delusions of grandeur. As long as you don't believe some crazy fairy tale that the old white guy behind the desk actually cares about your grandmother. Yeah. And whether or not she's homeless or not. Okay. He don't give a shit the same way the college recruiting athlete guy don't, the same way the NBA scout don't, the same way anybody doesn't care about you unless they can make some money from you. It's the nature of the business. So I would say bank on yourself and make sure you make something that's gonna last and to make you legacy. Real idea of what legacy looks like. If you look at what Usher's doing in Vegas, that's legacy.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Drake, Jay-Z, of course, like these type of artists, I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to do that exact same thing.
Residents.
If they wanted to. So the difference between knowing who you are in this business now and understanding who you want to be 20 years from now is the music that you make and impressions and impact you make on people. I want to show you something. If I listen to your music when I'm in the streets and I'm knucklehead and I'm getting high and I'm killing, when I change my life, will I be able to still listen to it and appreciate it?
It's not gonna sound the same.
It won't feel the same. But if you make records from a standpoint of this is where I am, but I want more for myself, then even I don't want more for myself right now, but in 10 years I will, and I'm gonna still be able to listen to that record. It's gonna identify with me. So those artists who understand that the streets is not the end, those artists who understand they're talking about their pain and their struggle. Clean always tell this to every artist he signs or works with. I gotta hear that pain, right? He always say that to them. I gotta hear that pain. Because the pain is something we all can identify with. Everybody not a killer. Everybody not a shooter. Everybody don't fuck a lot of hoes. Everybody don't get to a lot of money. But everybody got on their knees one night and cried because they couldn't feed themselves. Everybody felt that. Everybody got emotional about their current situation.
That hurt.
That pain is something that's going to always cut through. When you figure out how to bottle up that pain and put that on wax, you're going to live forever. Juice WRLD been going how long? You put on that record, though.
Yeah.
Triple X been going how long? You put on that record, though. It's something about that pain that's going to always identify with people. People are always going to be able to connect and identify to that pain.
It's timeless.
What about you, Clean? Because I know you manage like two different genre of artists that I know of, Mooski and Glock. So how you, like seeing the two different aspects of those two different artists, how do you receive it?
Let me first talk, I'm gonna come to them and talk about Miami music, and I like how you say Mooski, Glock, also Plies. It's a difference.
Yeah, you can say the whole thing.
Right. So when it comes to, I would say my greatest success, it came from people that had big thinking mixed with big hunger.
Yeah.
Alright. So when I say the biggest business, I mean the biggest deals that ever happened, it was like a big hunger and big thinking that came with the artist, that came with the deal. I haven't been that successful in my own city, Miami, and I attribute it to hunger. Like, I understand why people come from other cities and they come and enjoy Miami more than Miamians.
Mm-hmm.
Be like that.
They see the palm trees from Coldplay. We're already in Miami. We just need the clothes and the rental. We ain't really blowing no bag like how they come blow a bag. So that mentality, it has a lot to do with their work ethics and them investing in themselves and them being they great artists from the crib. Undoubtedly, we got great artists.
Yeah.
But why Plies from Fort Myers, Glock from Orlando, Mooski from Alabama, and a new one now, Cariante from a tip of the Louisiana. And when I sit with them, I know that they're gonna go after something big, because it seems like it's a difference even in the conversation about their future desires.
Yeah.
How much money they want to build before they dig into the bag. It's like when they talk about stacking, they be like, well, I'm finna stack. And then I'm gonna touch something after I get to this certain amount. I don't hear that from the crib. I hear as soon as I get it, boy, I'm straight to Bell Harbor. Immediately, it's no other plans to do with the bag. So when it comes to the other artists I work with, man, I'm very thankful. And I like to team up with anybody that's innovative and creative and think legacy, you know what I'm saying? No, that great talent don't turn me on no more without that extra stuff with it no more. I really want you and your family to be all right. But if you're thinking little, it's not going to happen. Because this world is coming to gobble us up, man.
That's a fact.
You know, so, and that's what it is, man. And I pray that Miami get it, you know. To be such a beautiful city, we shouldn't have like 4 mega superstars. We got a lot of micro stars now, which is cool. Everybody got their place. But the reason why we have a super amount of micro stars versus mega stars from an A market city, that usually don't happen. You see Atlanta got a lot of major stars, LA major, New York major. Miami seems like it's one every 10 years. You want to go through your history. How many mega stars you seen since you've been alive come out of Miami?
I mean, I'm from Haiti, but I came here like 2008.
Right.
So besides that,
So that's half. You ain't even got the.
yeah.
I probably could say, I think if every 10 years we might get one. I would say maybe we might get, and they might.
How many you seen since you've been living
Since I've been living,
in Miami?
like biggest.
Trina Ross.
I would say Trina Ross. I would say the City Girls would come in as the latest, like the last group of girls that come in. I want to say Flo Rida and Pitbull are mega stars worldwide. I'm going all the genre. And
Pretty Ricky.
Pretty Ricky was another one. And South Miami. When I think of Miami, I think South Florida. You see someone like Kodak. He's
Nah, that ain't Miami though.
He's not Miami, but I just feel like it's South Florida.
Yeah. We would put Kodak in it, but my thing is, you haven't touched 2 hands yet.
Nah.
In your life, in my life, and I'm 50 plus, from an A market, it has a lot to do with thinking.
That's crazy.
It just has a lot to do with
Because the talent is there.
Right.
Lord, the talent there.
It just has a lot to do with thinking, meaning don't get happy with $1 million. This is the truth. I sent an offer out to Drake Camp to add a date to the 21 Savage and Drake tour today. I offered him $3 million. It's on record. $3 million. Plus the jet, his sound, his lights, his production, too low.
They wouldn't even take that.
Too low. For an hour and a half work. And his brand. You know, not discrediting it, but I want other artists to hear the reach that you can reach. They're ready to say $3 million to me. Nah, that's not enough for an hour and a half of my life and my brand that I worked so hard at all the hits that I don't put out.
But you go to somebody $3 million, like niggas would cook tonight. Like,
Somebody would sign $3 million for 20 albums and don't own no royalties, no publishing. Well, let me get that. No, some artists, right? Live on air, I give you $3 million. Would you sign the 20 albums?
And you could come back to them right before they sign and say, you know what, we only gonna give you 2.1. They gonna be like, cool, come on, let's go. They'll be all right, well, we just gonna give you 1.7. They gonna be like, all right, let's go.
Y'all feel like some of these new artists, they lacking on the business side?
That's not just new artists, though. It's some guys been in the game a long time who still don't know the game. It's guys that been in this business longer than me that I know way more than the business than them. It's just some people just ain't students.
That's the word you said, students, right? And I watch a lot of young entrepreneurs. Like RapComeUp is a young entrepreneur. You probably watch other people that's doing blogs, podcasts. You studying the game because when he brought it to me, I thought it was a pleasure to come because I watch who hustle. I watch who start from nothing and go to something. This was a no-brainer when he mentioned it, you know.
Yeah, that's love. That.
But not caring about the business is what's destroying the business also. Because most cats, the labels call me when somebody hot in Florida and say, man, I want you to go sit down. I want you to become part of their team. Because the homeboy picking up the phone when my executive's calling, I could tell he building one and he not paying me no attention. We want to give him a real bag. We want to make sure he don't blow the bag. We want to make sure he's not about to go to prison. We want to make sure he do the right thing. We want to make sure he don't lose his creativity. Because most artists lose it when the bag comes. The hunger, that's why they call classic album. They most hungriest album.
Yeah.
So really, management one-on-one for me, I'm trying to get 100 songs out you before you get the bag, so I can have me 2 or 3 albums left. Cause the fans notice when you ain't hungry no more.
Oh yeah.
And then they leave you. So I got to kind of finesse you to give me more than just 12 and 15. You just trying to just put something out. I understand that people are believing in you, and they experience something that they love about you. We can't treat the game that cheap, man. And I watch so many of them change when they get a certain amount of money. The music just not the same, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's one thing I'm trying to get into the artist, the landscape of the artist mindset, man. You're a very trusted individual. Somebody trusted you with their ears. Think about that. Don't look at that as something small. If you're an artist, somebody trusting you with their ears, then the next thing they're gonna trust you with is their money.
B, 600,000 songs that come out on Spotify every day. If they listening to yours, that's value.
Something to be grateful for.
It's 600,000. In the next 10 minutes, it's gonna be another 600,000. That's how it works. There's so many people releasing content, and these people are saying, you know what, out of all these songs, I'm gonna listen to yours back to back to back to back to back. I'm gonna wake up to it, I'm gonna go to sleep to it, I'm gonna drive to it, I'm gonna fuck to it, I'm gonna eat to it. Hey, I'm gonna listen to your music. And to not understand the value of that, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Because it's so easy, like you said earlier, that people don't see the value in it because they got it
Yeah.
without no real struggle.
Without the real struggle. Without having to study, without having to be a student, without having to do anything. But imagine if you had it that easy and you still work. Imagine if you were 7'10", but you still worked so hard to jump high, even though your head is at the rim. Imagine if you still worked hard to make sure you don't injure yourself. Maybe you worked on the basics and fundamentals and practiced your shot. It did 2,000 shots a day, 500 makes a day. You know what I mean? Think about that. Like if you invest, if it's given to you easy, but you treat it like it's not easy, think about how much you could benefit from it. I watched a young lady do tours around the country, and she came home in 3 months and she made $3.5 million, and she was like, I'm doing it. And I was like, congratulations. Rihanna made that in one night. So you gotta understand, like that, yeah, that's good what you're doing. But if you don't understand that there's levels, you understand, if you don't see yourself being in that space,
It's gonna be different.
and the only way you can see yourself in that space is being grateful for the things that you see around you and see the way that you affect others. Well, they say you can't be great unless you're grateful. You cannot be great if you're not grateful. So understanding and being a student of the game, then it goes so far. It goes so far. And a lot of these guys and girls will never understand it because they feel like it's just given to them. So if it's given to me and I'm gracious and I treat it with respect and I work hard to make sure I keep it, oh my God, the sky's the limit for me.
I could tell you about this artist, NOC Menace in Florida Cash, right? From Nocatee, Florida, only have a stop sign. This is another one. Went to Atlanta, went to New Music Mondays, went to Off the Porch, went to Bigger Rankings, made sure he got press in the Breakfast Club press, Billboard press, so much press. I'm talking about want to do everything. Now he want to come to Miami and want to go sit down with everybody and explain his story about he represent the country. He represent cowboy boots and cut off Grand Marquis. Like, you know how we cut the Chevy, they cut the Grand Marquis. He got a candy painted tractor. You know, his when his family looking for him, he fishing. You know what I'm saying? He like to drive his old Chevy. I'm talking about old Chevy pickup. But he fly for where he from. But if I go Google a lot of our micro artists, none of their names don't come up on blogs. Why?
You feel like they don't got that, or I feel like they don't got that, how should I say that, publishing. The people that's gonna help push these.
Publicists, PR.
I would say this. If you can order a pair of Dayton's from LA,
You could hire a
you
publicist.
can figure out how to get a publicist. You know what I'm saying? It's too many people around here that if you don't know it, like I'm a manager. If I don't know it, I go ask somebody else. If I don't know,
I just look at
there's nothing hard to
whatever
find.
artists I like, and I Google who they publish.
Right. You know, but it's and also I would say this and back to what Rico said about being grateful. It takes that to be great. If you got an artist and he has put out a lot of great music, or she has put out a lot of great music, and they haven't obtained to a certain level, it's called getting comfortable too early. And if I have one staff member and I have to pay them $2,000 a month, let's just say that.
Yeah.
But in order for me to be big, I need 5 of those. And I want to pay them $5,000 a month. I got to think greater. I just can't be like, oh, here you go, your little 2 bands for the month. I'm straight, I can party, I'm clubbing, I'm good. You're never gonna go up the ladder unless you want to see people around you in a great position also, and you make your living expense, your work expense, money that come in from your work high. You just got to think like that. What can I do to make this big as such and such? You just can't never get comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's just plaguing the crib with so much great talent. So when I watch Menace and Florida Cats go to Atlanta and make relationships, and now they getting in a pickup truck. They going to Nashville. Man, we ain't got nothing. We Googling everything right now. Nashville, what club I go just grab the mic and just do it. Going to South by Southwest. Bro, we taking the tractor way to Texas. Boy, we backing it up. We going down the main street. We parking the tractor. We grabbing people that take pictures. Whatever. We representing this candy painted tractor.
Yeah, in the city.
You know. And I love to see people still willing to work. And because they feel like it comes so easy. Why should I do all that work? All this kissing, shaking hands and kissing babies, you telling me, it don't take that. All I got to do is drop it on the playlist, drop it on TuneCore, DistroKid, Empire, Video. I'm just dropping it on good. All this you want me to go politic. Man, I ain't doing that. Okay, that's why it won't be a classic. That's why you won't be living off of it 10 years from now. I don't want that high. I don't want that high with everybody loving me and everybody like, oh, let me take a picture well, I don't even see you. I don't want that high. I'm thanking God that I've been able to just live my life, and it's just been a gradual just pace out. And these artists gonna remember when they had that opportunity and they didn't seize the moment to do greater with it. And I'm just speaking on those because there are some that I could say really took it by the reins and say, I'm gonna do better than average. I ain't gonna just be normal with this opportunity. The Fat Joes of the world, the Callis of the world, the Flow Riders of the world. I'm proud of Trick for just got a cooking show. He got Sundays, he got plans, he got other things. Just to hear Trick, you know, that's Mr. Thug Holiday. You know what I'm saying?
Like your business, man.
Right. And when I sit down with Trina always planning such this big festival, and I'm like, man, Trina, you the biggest female promoter in Miami. No female ever did it this big. But just to see her still thinking outside the box, I'm really like proud of her, you know.
What about you, Rico? You ever felt like a level of comfort? Because I know with 2000, it started with 2009, where you got the nominee for Usher's album.
Yeah, but I started in the business since I was 4.
In 2010, you got
Yeah, but as far as I know, I never felt comfortable. Nah, I still was always the underdog though. Still, every no matter what I do, I've always been considered. I felt like the underdog. I don't feel like I ever got my just due in the business.
Can I answer that for him? About a level of comfort. All right. Tech going in the studio, and I'm trying to be honest, maybe 280 days a year. I'm talking about this year. last year, the year before that, the year before that. Levels of comfort means you're doing less work. He's doing interviews, he's doing more pull up and play, more come to the studio, more teaching, more one-on-ones. And I'm just like, bro, you work like you never accomplished nothing. It's like, I only can compare him to a Rick Ross or a Puff that seemed like, boy, this could not happen any day, and they diving in every day trying to figure out the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a conversation not too long ago. He like, B, I'm not Rico Love the songwriter. I'm Rico Love the conglomerate. I'm doing a lot of things that's outside of music. So, and that's the position that he worked hard to be able to do real estate, to do philanthropy, to do reach out, you know, to get into tech, so many things. But that's what this game is about. This music business is supposed to be like the projects, the way the projects are supposed to be. You go through the projects, you live in it, and you use it as a launching pad to get somewhere. This music business is not supposed to be our life night and day. It's just supposed to be utilized to take us somewhere else. We shouldn't get stuck in the music business. You should be able to say, I'm in it because I love it, and I know how to use it, because that's one of the biggest audience out there outside of television is music, and I know how to use it to take me somewhere else. You know, I'm blessed to be in partnership with a brother that can go to sleep, and he's found ways for money to be deposited while he's asleep. and he's a producer that don't touch keys. You know, that's a blessing, man.
So what's like your working process? As far as like, you know, choosing the sounds and working with artists hands on, like how do you do it?
As far as I really I start with chord progressions, and a piano or a guitar, and that's build the song. And after the song is laid, we can build the production around it. But after I write a song from scratch with the chords. And if you can't write a song with just the chords, then the song ain't really nothing anyway. You got to be able to strip. If I strip all the music out your song, if it still ain't good, then it ain't a good song. You rely on it. Yeah, you got to digest the whole record. But I want to just say too, appreciate y'all for having us on this, and I love the idea of black people getting together and having conversations. And more than anything, I think that that's the value in situations like this. And I want to say that while we still sitting here, it's like I'm always grateful for the opportunity to share my gifts. I'm always grateful for an opportunity to converse with like-minded individuals, and I don't take that for granted. So I'm super grateful to you all for creating this.
Young artists that's coming up in the game, and they don't get to have somebody like you know what I'm saying, who've been in this game, who've been on both sides as far as like a publisher and an artist. They don't get those free games from them every day. So having you on here is an even bigger blessing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Of course, you too clean, because you know you've been managing the people. You know what I'm saying? You've been around. You know how everything goes. So for you to be able to give these young niggas like free game on management, what they need to do and how they need to, you know, present themselves, that's a blessing too. Cause like, you know, we from Miami, we see that every day. Half of them boys, they not doing interviews. They don't want to do shows unless they getting paid, but it's like you just dropping music and that's it. How somebody want to pay? How somebody won't pay you if they don't know you? You feel me? Like, I'm not going to book you for 5 bands, 10 bands, and you can't even bring 100, 200 people.
You're right, man.
You know what I'm saying?
That's all the mindset, man. And you got to start doing this because you love it. Because it's a hard-breaking game, too. The ones who love it really go through something. The ones who don't love it don't go through nothing because they never really cared anyway.
They get everything to you.
You know what I'm saying? So somebody that love it, they really got to go through a whole lot to get there, you know? You know, and I just want to just thankful for that, man. And just want to give a special shout out to my son, Breon, my baby boy, who found Mooski and brought him to me. and my partner with the business, which is AI, that run Rise and Rap, man.
Yeah, I know.
You know, AI, good brother. And then my oldest son, man, he got an artist now that's signing to OVO. And he said, Dad, man, we went to the meeting. They told him, man, make enough money so these guys who work so hard to get you to our table, that they eat good. And I was like, man, that's a blessing that you bumped into some of the same teaching, huh?
Lil D?
Yeah.
I need that exclusive on who the artist is.
I
gotta get them on here.
That's OVO giving them opening the door for them, you know.
Nah, that's lovely.
And I just want to shout out my boys, man. It's been
Before we go, like, would y'all like to give these young artists any, free game that's gonna stick to them and everything?
Yeah, man, study everything. Listen to things that you wouldn't normally listen to. Listen to country, listen to EDM, study classical, listen to everything. Make sure your palate is wide. Make sure that you understand and have a taste for all facets of music. Educate yourself. Be able to know a little bit about everything.
Definitely. What about you, King?
I would say keep your heart clean, keep your face clean, and surround yourself around somebody that wanna go somewhere, man. That's it. That's all it'll take, man. Love yourself. Stay out of trouble. And really just keep your face clean. That's a very important part of the game, man. We live in an era where people don't really care about that. Keep selfishness out, keep ungratefulness out. And these are character defects that can really hurt your career. Most people don't understand how much character plays a role in you going or you failing, man. That's it, man.
So, this your boy Rap from RapComeUp, and this is the conclusion of episode 2 of Real Talk with RapComeUp, man. It was a pleasure sitting around these legends today, and I hope y'all learned a lot of free games from them.